What's up, guys? It's Brantzen with the Brantzen Poker Vlog. I am at the volcano, which means we are at the Gardens Casino down in Hawaiian Gardens, California. So wish me luck and hit the intro.
Yeah, I mean, the nice thing is that I just don't like till, you know. Alright, we got the flush. Okay, he's got a set of eights. We got him. Hold.
Tell him he's got a lot of class, and it's all low.
Alright, so a lot of you don't know this, but I actually live closer to the Gardens than Ocean's 11, but I like the rake format and buy-in structure better at Ocean's, so I go there more frequently. However, occasionally I'll still play at the Gardens, especially if I only have time for a short session. This video will actually be two short 5-5 sessions that I played at the Gardens, one in June and one in July. In my first session, there was a long line for the 5-5, so I played 2-3 for about an hour before I sat down with $500 in the 5-5. First hand recovering, I pick up Queen 9 off on the small blind, and the action folds to me. There's a straddle, so I make it $35 and the straddle calls. The flop comes out 9-4-7 rainbow, and I lead out for $40 with top pair. He calls, and the turn is a 6. I should still have the best hand here a lot of the time, so I bet $80. He calls, and the river is the king of clubs, bringing in a possible flush. I don't think a worse hand is likely to call me on this board, so I slow it down and check. He bets $130, and I think about what he could be betting with. He could have a king, but not many kings would call my flop and turn bet unless he already had a pair like King 9 or King 7 or King 4. If he flopped or turned 2 pair, I think it would be likely that he would have raised me at some point. I don't really believe him, so I make the call, and he shows 4-5 of diamonds.
Ladies and gentlemen, we got him.
In the next hand, we look down at Queen Jack off in the Lojack, and I opened to $25. My standard open in 5-5 is $20, but the button had to post a blind this hand, so I upped my sizing. The small blind calls, and the flop comes out Jack 9-7 rainbow. He checks to me, and I bet $40 with top pair, and he calls. The turn is a 9, pairing the board, and he checks to me. I really don't like this card because not only could he have a better jack, but he could also now have any 9 to beat me. I check it back, and the river is an 8. The board is even more connected now, as any 10 makes a straight. He checks, and I take a look at him. Everything about him, his checking, his body language, his demeanor, looks like he's weak. Still, I don't think I'm getting much value out of worse hands here, and I definitely don't want to be lured into his swamp on the off chance he's trying to deceive me with a monster, so I check back. I show my cards, and they're good. Moving on, we're in the small blind with 6-7 of hearts. The cutoff opens to $20. I don't love this spot in the small blind, and I thought about doing all three options, calling, folding, or raising. I just call, and the flop comes out 10-6-4 rainbow. I check, and he checks back. The turn comes the king of hearts giving me a flush draw to go along with my pair. I check as I have showdown value, and I want to realize my equity on the river. The king hits his range, but he decides to check back. The river comes another king, and I check with just my pair of 6s. Now he bets $40. I didn't think he had a king when he checked back the turn, and I think it's even less likely now that the river brought a second king, reducing the chances he could have one. If he had a 10, I think he would have bet the flop. I'm quite confused as to what he has here, so I decide to be a hero and call. Unfortunately, we get the bad news when he flips over Jack King. Yeesh. The next hand is short, but I'll show it just so you can see my thought process in different hands. There's a straddle, and I get dealt pocket 10s under the gun. I open to $35, and the hijack 3 bets to $110. When I open from early position, I most likely have a very strong holding. So when my opponents 3-bet me, they're raising me knowing that fact. On top of that, I hadn't seen the hijack play many hands, so it was even more likely that he had a monster like queens, kings, or aces. Even if the flop came out low, I would be unsure if I was ahead or not with my overpair, and we'd be playing in a big pot. For that reason, I folded. We ended our short 5-5 session positive $140. Combined with our 2-3 profits that day, we walked up $252 for a few hours of play. Like I said, right now I'm only playing at the Gardens when I'm limited on time. This session was from mid-June, and the next one we played was on July 15th. If you'd like to see me play at the Gardens more often, let me know in the comments and make sure to like this video. Okay, early on in this session, we're dealt pocket 10s in the hijack. There's only 5 people at the table, and I opened to $20. The button calls, and the small blind goes all in for $145. I just saw him lose a hand, and he was pretty emotional about it. Because he's likely on tilt, it's a pretty easy call, and the button folds. The flop comes out 7, king, 8, and he says he has turn queen, river jack. He shows ace 4 offsuit, and my 10s are good. In the next hand, we pick up jack 9 of clubs in the cutoff. I make a standard open to $20, and the button and small blind call. We see a flop which comes out 7, 10, 5 with 2 hearts and a club. The small blind donk leads for $35. We have 1 over, a gut shot straight draw, and a backdoor flush draw, and we have position on the small blind. There's a lot of turns that can improve our hand, so we make the call. One difference between 2-3 and 5-5 games is that I find people on 5-5 tables show more aggression and raise more frequently instead of just calling. That's what the button does, as he raises to $115. The small blind gets out of the way, and I decide to fold as well. A little later, I see queen king off in the Lojack. The under the gun opens to $20, and I make the call. The hijack also calls, and it's 3 ways to the flop. The flop comes out 10 jack 3 rainbow, and the under the gun checks. This is a solid flop for me, as I have an open-ended straight draw as well as 2 overcards. I debate betting or checking, but ultimately I decide to check to realize my equity. The hijack then bets $45, and the under the gun folds. I have a bunch of equity on this board, so I call, and the turn comes a 4. I check it over to the hijack, and he bets $65 now into a pot of over $150. That is a pretty small turn bet size. I'm getting a great price to call and hit a hand, but I'm sensing weakness from him, so I decide to take the more aggressive approach. I raise to $185, he thinks about it, and then folds. In the last hand on the vlog, the under the gun opens to $20. Then the Lojack, hijack, and cutoff call. We look down at ace 8 of spades in the small blind. With this many people in, I decide to just call, and the big blind calls as well. The flop comes out a complete dream, ace 8 3. I flop top 2 pair, and I'm the first to act. I think about whether I should check or bet here. Checking to the pre-flop raiser is usually always my strategy. However, this hand has 6 people in it. Because there are so many people in the hand, there's less pressure on each individual person to bet it. People could easily check an ace if they have it. And the last thing I want is for everyone to check and for everyone to see a free turn. Another club could give someone a flush, and who knows what cards might give someone a set. Because of this, I decide to bet $100. I think an ace will still likely call me, as well as a flush draw. Unfortunately, I'm reminded of my childhood when nobody wanted to come out and play, and I take down the pot. Alright, I'm leaving the casino right now. I didn't have very much time because it's a Thursday night and we have guests coming over tomorrow. So I had to call it early, and I promised the wife I'd play a short session. So played for 2 hours. I bought in for $500, cashed out for $742 for a small profit of $242. Alright, see you next time.